I was at Barf's garage, where I am employed as a mechanic during the night time. And as is usual at that hour, I had my lunch. Other people might call it dinner time, but for a nightman in a garage, it's lunchtime. I ate that peacefully, thinking of nothing in particular, least of all of any dangers that might confront one. And it occurred to me that since I had lunch, I might as well get some fresh air with it, as there were quite a good many cars in the garage which had been brought in shortly, some for repair, some for storage, and the place was fairly well filled with gasoline vapor. So I figured I'll have a little fresh air. So I walked very leisurely to the main entrance of the garage, looked across the alley, where I had an unobstructed view, since there were no streetcars passing at the time, which is, well, near midnight, I might say, and the place 2424 Lincoln Avenue, Billy Barf's garage, my employer. He did not expect me to be finished with my work till the next morning. And since I had a little leisure, I took my air very casually, looked across the alley, when I suddenly, in quick succession, heard two rapid shots. A woman screamed, lifting up her dress, saying she was shot, and a man right across from me dropped on the floor, right then and there. I was horrified. I stood there aghast for a moment. Then I ran for water, thinking someone might be injured, and they might want to have some drink since we are dying. I had no water handy, so I took the sprinkling can. I went with that, but by this time, one of the government officers who had shot, which I later heard was Dillinger, he kept me back with a revolver. I did not know who he was, and I thought at the time that it was just merely one gangster holding up another. So I rushed to the telephone, which was easy for me since we have a public telephone station right there, and I asked for the police department. Before the operator could put me in touch with it, the sirens were already blowing, and the police department came from various places. I saw the blood of Dillinger just as he dropped. It was a gruesome sight. In fact, as he dropped onto the ground, I thought it was just an innocent man who had there spent his mortal life in agony through no fault of his own. Little did I think that as I was standing there and looking at a corpse, that it would be one of the greatest criminals, and might I say, one of the most infamous men which this country has produced. Still there he lay, motionless, his feet crossed over, dead and dying. Never a sound did he utter. He just dropped as cattle would in a slaughterhouse. Only he had a greater fame to himself, a greater name. And I must give great credit to the government agent who shot him, because after all, they were just two quick shots, and they hit the mark infallibly. For I could see the blood gushing through his chest, as well as at the back at the same time. His shirt was bloody on both parts, the back and the front, with the blood oozing all over the street, and Dillinger lay motionless. I was at the garage at Barf's, 2424 Lincoln Avenue. I had just my lunchtime since I'm the night mechanic there. Then it occurred to me to go to the outside and get some fresh air. Just as I looked across the street and I had an unobstructed view of everything, I looked towards the alley. Not a streetcar passed. Even automobiles were scarce. And I heard two quick shots in instant succession. A woman screamed. She had been hit in the leg, her left leg, and the man dropped, motionless. And then I heard it was Dillinger. I was surprised. But I must give credit to the government men, because it was a shot which found its mark, and found it quickly. Dillinger had no chance whatever. Just as his victims were gone before, so he had found his own fate at last. I was at Barf's garage at 2424 Lincoln Avenue, where I am the night mechanic. I had just lunch, and as there was quite an odor of gasoline, I thought I'll have a little fresh air. So I walked to the main entrance of the garage and leisurely leaned against the wall. I had an unobstructed view, no streetcars in front of me, so I could see everything plain. At the next instant, there were two rapid shots. A woman screamed, and a man fell like a statue without a single motion whatsoever. He dropped, his shirt was bespattered with blood, front and back. I thought two gangsters were at work, killing each other. So I quickly rushed back into the garage, and I got some water, thinking that one of the dying men would want a drink. No, said the man who shot him. I'm a government agent. You need not help him anymore. This is or was John Dillinger.